July 18, 1944, near the French village of Vimoutiers, Tiger Tank Commander Michael Wittmann counted the approaching American armor through his commander's cupola. 1, 5, 10, 20, 30. He stopped counting at 50. His radio operator heard him key the microphone and say in a flat, resigned voice, "There are at least 50 Shermans approaching. We have 6 Tigers operational. I can kill them, but I can't kill them fast enough. They will overrun us through sheer numbers." 2 hours later, Wittmann was dead. His Tiger destroyed not by superior technology, but by overwhelming numerical superiority. This is the story of German tank crews, who knew they had the best tank in the world and also knew it wouldn't save them. The Tiger tank was a 56-ton monster that could destroy any Allied tank at ranges exceeding 2,000 meters. Its 88mm gun was so powerful that British tank crews called it the beast that never misses. Its frontal armor was essentially impenetrable to standard Allied tank guns. German propaganda called it invincible. German tank crews knew better. They knew that for every Tiger, the Americans had 20 Shermans. They knew that while they waited weeks for spare parts, Americans replaced entire tanks in days. They knew they were fighting with quality against quantity, and in modern war, quantity has a quality of its own. Tiger tank crews were the elite of the Wehrmacht. Unlike regular panzer units equipped with Panzer IVs or Es, Tiger crews were specially selected and extensively trained. It took 5 men to operate a Tiger effectively: commander, gunner, loader, driver, and radio operator, who also served as hull machine gunner. These men lived, fought, and often died together in a steel box that was simultaneously the most powerful and most vulnerable position on the battlefield. Otto Carius, who would survive the war with over 150 tank kills, described the selection process in his post-war memoir. They didn't just want good soldiers. They wanted men who could think independently, react instantly, and work as a perfect team. The Tiger was too valuable and too rare to waste on mediocre crews. We trained for months before we ever saw combat. We had to know every bolt, every wire, every capability and limitation of our vehicle. The Tiger was not forgiving of mistakes. The psychological profile of Tiger crews was unique. They knew they were operating the most feared weapon on the battlefield. Allied soldiers would often retreat just hearing the distinctive sound of a Tiger's Maybach engine. But Tiger crews also knew they were priority targets. Every Allied aircraft, artillery piece, and tank would focus on destroying Tigers first. Kurt Knispel, the Wehrmacht's highest scoring tank ace with 168 confirmed kills, told his crew before his final battle, "We are not tank crew, we are targets. Every enemy gun is aimed at us. We survive through skill and luck, but mostly luck, and luck always runs out." He was killed the next day when his Tiger was hit by Soviet anti-tank guns. The interior of a Tiger was cramped, hot, and filled with hazards. 88mm shells weighed over 20 kilograms each. In combat, these shells would be flying around inside the tank as the loader frantically fed the gun. The engine compartment reached temperatures over 50 degrees Celsius. The noise of the engine, tracks, and gun was deafening. Communication was through throat microphones and headsets, but often crew members resorted to kicking each other to get attention. Hans Wegner, a Tiger driver who survived the war, recalled, "You cannot imagine the physical demands. I would lose 5 kilograms during a single day of combat just from sweat. The steering required enormous strength. The Tiger had no power steering. After 8 hours of combat, My arms would shake so badly I couldn't hold a cup of coffee, and we were the lucky ones. We were inside armor. The infantry had nothing. The M4 Sherman was everything the Tiger was not. It weighed 30 tons to the Tiger's 56. Its 75mm gun couldn't penetrate Tiger frontal armor even at point-blank range. Its own armor could be penetrated by a Tiger at over 2,000 meters. In a one-on-one engagement, the Sherman had virtually no chance. German tank crews initially dismissed the Sherman as Tommy Cooker, British version, or Ronson, American version, because it lights every time. But the Sherman had advantages. German crews gradually came to fear more than respect. It was reliable, starting every time, rarely breaking down. It was fast, with a higher top speed and better mobility than the Tiger. It was simple to maintain and repair. Most importantly, it was available in overwhelming numbers. For every Tiger produced, the Americans built 40 Shermans. Michael Wittmann, before his death, wrote to his wife, "The Americans have a different philosophy. We build the perfect tank. They build tanks that are good enough and build thousands of them. When we destroy one Sherman, 2 more appear. When we destroy those, 4 more appear. It's like fighting the mythical Hydra. I can kill any tank they send against me, but I cannot kill them all." German tank crews developed standard tactics for engaging multiple Shermans. Otto Carius explained, "The key was to engage at maximum range where our 88 could kill, but their 75 couldn't hurt us. We would deploy in hull-down positions, only our turret visible. We would kill the lead Sherman to block the road, then the last Sherman to trap the column, then methodically destroy the ones in between. In ideal conditions, one Tiger could destroy an entire Sherman platoon in minutes, but ideal conditions were rare by 1944. American tactics evolved to neutralize Tiger advantages. They would use smoke to close distance, attack from multiple directions simultaneously, and call in artillery or air support immediately upon spotting a Tiger. They developed the Sherman swarm tactic, overwhelming Tigers through sheer numbers and accepting losses to achieve victory. John Frost, an American tank commander who survived an engagement with Tigers, described the American approach. "We knew we couldn't outfight them, so we outsmarted them. 5 Shermans would engage frontally, keeping the Tiger's attention. Meanwhile, 2 more would flank through cover. While the Tiger engaged the 5, the flankers would hit it from the side where the armor was thinner. We'd lose 2 or 3 Shermans, but we'd kill the Tiger. We could replace 3 Shermans in a day. They couldn't replace 1 Tiger in a month." By summer 1944, German tank crews understood the arithmetic of their situation with brutal clarity. Germany produced approximately 1,300 Tigers throughout the entire war. The Americans produced 49,000 Shermans. On any given day on the Western Front, Germany might have 40 operational Tigers. The Allies had over 4,000 tanks. Franz Staudinger, who destroyed 22 Soviet tanks in a single engagement, explained the mathematics in a letter home. "I can destroy 20 tanks, but there are always 30. My loader can load the shell in 7 seconds. Our rate of fire is 8 rounds per minute. If there are 20 enemy tanks and I don't miss, which is impossible, I need 2.5 minutes to destroy them all. In 2.5 minutes, 20 Shermans can fire over 100 shells at me. Even if 90% miss or bounce off, 10 will hit, 1 penetration, and we're dead." The fuel situation made the mathematics worse. A Tiger consumed 500 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers on roads, more in combat. By late 1944, fuel allocations were so limited that Tigers often went into battle with half-full tanks, knowing they might not have enough fuel to retreat. They became static defensive weapons, unable to use their mobility. Wilhelm Knaust, commander of Schwer Panzer Abteilung 503, recorded in his war diary. Today, we have 8 Tigers operational, 12 gallons of fuel per tank. Enough for perhaps 30 minutes of combat. The Americans are reported approaching with over 100 tanks. My men are the best tank crews in the world. Their courage is beyond question. But courage cannot create fuel from air. We will fight until the fuel runs out, then we will destroy our tanks to prevent capture. This is not warfare anymore. This is mathematics, and the equation doesn't balance. Ammunition was another limiting factor. A Tiger carried 92 rounds for its main gun. In a major engagement, a Tiger could expend its entire ammunition load in under an hour. Resupply was dangerous and often impossible under combat conditions. German crews learned to be extremely selective with their shots, but this gave Shermans more time to maneuver and attack. Hans Sandrock, a Tiger gunner, recalled, in 1943, "I would fire at anything that moved. By 1944, every shell was precious. I would wait until I had a perfect shot, even if it meant letting Shermans get closer." We called it economy warfare. The Americans called it spray and pray. They could afford to miss. We couldn't. The battle near Vimoutiers on July 18, 1944, exemplified the Tiger's paradox: tactical superiority negated by strategic reality. Michael Wittmann's Schwer SS Panzer Abteilung 101 was ordered to halt the American advance toward Falaise. They had 6 operational Tigers. American forces had elements of 2 armored divisions. Wittmann's final radio transmissions, recorded by the battalion war diary, tell the story. 0930 hours, enemy armor approaching from northwest. Estimate battalion strength. 0945 hours, engaged lead elements. 4 Shermans destroyed. Enemy continues advancing. 1000 hours, have destroyed 9 enemy tanks, running low on ammunition. Enemy strength appears to be regiment plus. 1030 hours. There are at least 50 Shermans approaching. We have 6 Tigers operational. I can kill them, but I can't kill them fast enough. They will overrun us through sheer numbers. 1045 hours, hull down in defensive position, will hold as long as possible. Tell my wife transmission ends. The exact circumstances of Wittmann's death remain disputed. Canadian forces claim credit, British forces claim credit, and recent research suggests he may have been killed by a rocket-firing Typhoon aircraft. What is not disputed is the result. Wittmann's Tiger was destroyed, likely hit multiple times from multiple directions. His crew died with him. They had destroyed approximately 12 Allied tanks in their final battle, but there were always more. Bobby Warmack, commander of a Canadian Sherman who participated in the battle, described it decades later. "We knew Wittmann was out there. Everyone knew about him. He was the German tank ace, over 130 kills. We were terrified, but also determined. Our squadron commander told us, 'He's 1 tank with 5 men. We're 40 tanks with 200 men. Do the math. We lost 9 Shermans killing him. In any other situation, that would be a disaster. But we had 9 more Shermans arriving that evening.' The Germans never got another Wittmann. The psychological impact of Wittmann's death on German tank crews was profound. If the best tank commander in the Wehrmacht, in the best tank ever built, could be overwhelmed and destroyed, what chance did anyone have? Morale in panzer units, already low from constant retreat, plummeted further. By autumn 1944, German tank crews operating Tigers knew they were fighting a lost cause. They could win every tactical engagement and still lose the war. This knowledge created a unique psychological state. Pride in their equipment and skills combined with fatalistic acceptance of inevitable defeat. Otto Carius, reflecting on this period, wrote, "We became philosophers in steel coffins. We would discuss Schopenhauer while loading 88mm shells. We knew we would likely die, but we took pride in how expensive we would make our deaths for the enemy. A Tiger crew's final victory was forcing the enemy to commit 10 tanks to destroy one. It was insane, but it was all we had left. The crews developed various coping mechanisms. Some became extremely superstitious, refusing to enter battle without specific rituals. Others became recklessly aggressive, seeking to take as many enemies with them as possible. Many turned to alcohol or methamphetamines, which were freely distributed to combat troops. Kurt Becker, a Tiger loader, described the mental state. You became numb to fear, because fear was constant. Every time you heard aircraft engines, you wondered if this was the rocket that would burn you alive. Every time you saw dust clouds on the horizon, you counted probable enemy tanks and calculated survival odds. We stopped thinking about after the war because there would be no after. There was only the next battle and the battle after that, until there were no more battles because we were dead." The relationship between crew members intensified under these conditions. They spent every moment together, sharing the cramped interior of their Tiger, depending on each other absolutely for survival. The death of a crew member was devastating, not just tactically, but emotionally. Hans Muller, a Tiger commander, wrote in his diary, "Lost Klaus today. He was our driver for 8 months. 8 months is a lifetime in Tigers. He saved us dozens of times with his driving skill. A Sherman got lucky, penetrated our side armor. Klaus took the full force of the shell. We couldn't even recognize him to bury him properly. I have a new driver now, young kid from Bavaria. I don't want to know his name. It's easier when they die if you don't know their names." The Tiger versus Sherman dynamic represented a fundamental misunderstanding of modern warfare by German leadership. They believed that qualitative superiority could overcome quantitative disadvantage. Post-war interviews with German tank crews revealed they understood this fallacy long before their leaders. Friedrich Grimm, who commanded Tigers in both Normandy and the Ardennes, explained, "The Tiger was a masterpiece of engineering, but it was the wrong weapon for the war we were fighting. It took 300,000 man-hours to build one Tiger. The Americans built 3 Shermans in the same time. The Tiger needed special rail cars for transport, special bridges to cross rivers, special maintenance equipment. The Sherman used standard everything. We were building Rolls-Royces to fight a war that required trucks. The maintenance requirements alone doomed the Tiger. The transmission, a marvel of engineering, required complete removal from the tank for major repairs, a process taking skilled mechanics days. The interleaved road wheels, which provided excellent weight distribution, would freeze solid with mud in Russian winters, immobilizing the tank. The engine required high-grade fuel that Germany couldn't produce in sufficient quantities by late war. Meanwhile, American maintenance was brutally simple. Richard Collins, an American tank maintenance officer, described their approach. Sherman breaks down, we don't fix it. We push it off the road and bring up a new one. Transmission gone, new tank. Engine blown, new tank. Tank destroyed, 3 new tanks. We had tanks in crates, ready to assemble. The Germans were performing surgery on Tigers. We were running an assembly line. The production statistics told the entire story. The best month of Tiger production was April 1944 with 105 tanks produced. That same month, American factories produced over 2,000 Shermans. The entire German production run of Tigers, approximately 1,300, equaled less than 3 weeks of American tank production at peak. Wilhelm Fehling, a German industrial engineer who worked on Tiger production, admitted after the war, "We knew by 1943 that we couldn't win a production war with America. Every Tiger was hand-fitted, individually adjusted. The Americans were using mass production techniques we couldn't match. They built tanks like we built cars before the war, thousands of identical units. We built Tigers like we built custom racing cars, each one perfect, each one taking forever." The psychological burden on Tiger crews extended beyond combat stress. They knew that their tactical victories were strategically meaningless. They knew that every Tiger loss was irreplaceable, while every Sherman destroyed was replaced within days. This knowledge created a unique form of combat fatigue. Otto Carius described it. "Imagine being the best swordsman in the world, with the best sword ever made, fighting an enemy with inferior swords but unlimited numbers. You killed 10, 20, 30, but they keep coming. Your sword arm gets tired. Your perfect sword gets notched and worn. Eventually, inevitably, one of those inferior swords finds its mark." That was our war from 1944 onward. The crews also carried the burden of being elite troops in a crumbling army. Regular Wehrmacht units often resented Tiger crews for their better equipment and supplies. Infantry would complain that Tigers attracted artillery and airstrikes that killed foot soldiers. Tiger crews were simultaneously heroes and pariahs. Karl Broman, who commanded a Tiger company, wrote, "We were caught between worship and hatred. Propaganda filmed us for newsreels showing German superiority. Meanwhile, infantry sergeants cursed us for drawing enemy fire. We couldn't win. If we advanced, we were glory hounds. If we held back to preserve our tanks, we were cowards. The only respect came from the enemy, who at least understood what we were facing. The physical toll was severe." Tank crews suffered from chronic back problems, from the constant vibration. Hearing damage was universal. Burns from hot shell casings, hydraulic fluid, and engine components were common. Many crews suffered from what would now be diagnosed as traumatic brain injury from the concussion of near misses. Hans Wagner, a Tiger gunner, described the physical deterioration. "After 6 months in Tigers, I looked like an old man. I was 22, but moved like I was 60. My hands shook constantly, not from fear, but from nerve damage from the gun's recoil. I couldn't hear conversations without shouting. My back was so damaged I couldn't stand straight." We joked that Tiger crews could be identified by their hunched backs and loud voices. It wasn't really funny. By March 1945, the mathematics had become absurd. The Wehrmacht had fewer than 200 operational Tigers on all fronts. The Allies had over 20,000 tanks. German crews were now fighting with Tigers that had been repaired so many times that no original parts remained. They were manned by inexperienced crews. The veterans were mostly dead. Heinrich Skoda, one of the last Tiger commanders, described the final weeks. "My Tiger had parts from 7 different destroyed Tigers. My crew consisted of 2 Hitler Youth boys who had never seen combat, a 50-year-old mechanic drafted from a factory, and a radio man who had been a clerk 2 weeks earlier. We had 20 rounds for our main gun and enough fuel for perhaps 10 kilometers. The Americans had unlimited everything. We weren't fighting anymore. We were simply delaying the inevitable by a few hours or days." The last Tiger versus Sherman engagement of significance occurred during the Battle of the Ruhr. Pocket in April 1945. 3 Tigers of Schwere Panzerabteilung 506 faced elements of the U.S. 3rd Armored Division. The German tanks destroyed 16 Shermans before being overwhelmed. It was tactically impressive and strategically meaningless. James Morrison, who commanded one of the surviving Shermans, reflected. Those 3 Tigers fought magnificently. They made us pay for every meter. But behind us were 100 more Shermans, and behind those 1,000 more. They were fighting mathematics with courage. Mathematics won. The final Tiger was destroyed in combat on May 8th, 1945, the day Germany surrendered. It had been fighting alone against overwhelming odds, its crew refusing to surrender. They destroyed 4 enemy tanks before being knocked out. The crew died at their posts. They had won their tactical engagement and lost their war. The story of Tiger crews facing impossible odds teaches a fundamental lesson about modern warfare. Tactical superiority cannot overcome strategic disadvantage. The Tiger was the best tank of World War II. Its crews were among the most skilled soldiers ever to fight. None of it mattered against American industrial capacity and numerical superiority. Post-war analysis revealed the stark reality. Tigers achieved a kill ratio of approximately 5-1 against Shermans, an impressive tactical achievement. But the Americans built Shermans at a ratio of 40-1. The mathematics were insurmountable from the beginning. Otto Carius, who survived to become a pharmacist, offered this final assessment. People ask me if the Tiger was better than the Sherman. Wrong question. The Tiger was better than any tank the Allies had. But the Allies had all the tanks. We were fighting the last war with the best weapons. They were fighting the current war with adequate weapons in overwhelming numbers. Guess who won? The German tank crews who fought in Tigers knew they were doomed long before the end. They knew that every tactical victory brought strategic defeat closer. They understood that they could win every battle and lose the war. They fought on not from hope of victory but from duty, pride, and the warrior's code that demands you make your defeat as expensive as possible for the enemy. Franz Kurowski, who compiled accounts of German tank crews, concluded, "The Tiger crews were Homeric heroes fighting an industrial war. They were Achilles, facing not just Hector, but 1,000 Hectors, each one replaced as soon as he fell. Their tragedy was not that they lost, but that they were magnificent in a defeat that was mathematically certain from the beginning." The radio transmission that titles this account, "I Can't Kill Them Fast Enough," captures the essential tragedy of the German tank force. They had the best tanks, the best crews, the best tactics. They could kill any enemy they faced, but they couldn't kill enough of them, fast enough, to change the outcome of a war that was decided not in the fields of France or Russia, but in the factories of Detroit and the oil fields of Texas. The Tiger remains a symbol of German technical excellence and the limits of that excellence. It was the best tank of the war, and it lost. Its crews were among the best soldiers of the war, and they lost. Quality fought quantity, and quantity won. The German tank crews understood this truth as they fought their hopeless battle against American industrial might. They knew the mathematics, and they knew mathematics always wins.